In this video, I'm going to be talking about why you shouldn't listen to generalizing astrologers, especially when they give you bad outlooks based on your zodiac sign only for an entire month or year. So stay tuned. My name is Adam. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Before we get started today, I just want to let you know I'm doing free breakthrough calls. There is a link pinned in the comment section below. These are excellent 30-minute calls where we go over your vision for your life, what you're looking to create, and if you've created it, why you're not maybe enjoying it, what's blocking you, what's in your way, and some steps you can take to really iron everything out to live your best life. Now, the inspiration for this video comes from many years of me reading bad astrology outlooks on the internet and deeply internalizing them and then going nuts in my head and worrying about what's coming for me, whether it be for a month or a year. Who can relate to doing this? Before we get more into this, I just want to say that I know astrology is real. I know it has incredible benefits. I know it's very accurate to a large extent, but there are some dangers to reading these blogs, specifically from people who are simply generalizing. One, you want to question a lot of people's motives. Okay, we all got to make a living, but there's a lot of people out there who use fear or just ignorance to try to get people to listen to them. And that's all right, but don't internalize it. It is impossible for anybody to tell an entire group of people born within a 30-day period on the planet what their year or their month is going to be like at all, but especially using only their sun sign. In my personal opinion, I think this is quite fucked up, actually. I don't think people should be doing this, and any astrologer worth their salt knows that they can't really do that. But I've spent, like I've said, many nights worried that my finances were going to fall apart. I was going to lose my wife when I wasn't even married. That my house was going to burn to the ground when I didn't even have a house. And the problem with reading these things is that we have so much co-creative potential, it's ridiculous. So when we read these things and we absorb them and we believe them, then they might happen because we're making them happen when they weren't going to happen. And you have to understand that a lot of this is incorrect for many reasons, which I'm going to get into. Like one of my best friends was telling me that this astrologer gave her a reading of all these difficult periods of time she was going to go through for a certain number of years. And one of them was like, I don't know, last year for a certain period of time, it was going to get very trying and arduous. And she said like the whole time she was just boogie boarding like every day for like a month or two and everything was fine. These people don't know. So why should you not listen to this? Well, one reason is this. You are God. You are the co-creator of your life. You're the one who makes these things happen ultimately or not. When we give our power away to the stars, even though the stars do have power, the forces of the planets do have power, yes. When we give too much power away, though, we abdicate our creative potential. Every astrological force can be mitigated by the soul, if it wants to be, but not if you don't believe that. If you carry the belief system that the stars run your life, well, then so it is. And now more than ever, we have the ability to override that and choose where we want our lives to go. Another reason why you shouldn't listen to this is because a lot of the dark outlook on things came from the old timeline version of the Earth. I've spoken about the old timeline versus the new timeline many times in different videos. But essentially, the gist of it is the old timeline up till about 2012, 2015 in there was filled with trauma. It was filled with darkness, terror, chaos. And I know there's a lot of nutsness on the planet right now. But energetically, it was very imprisoning, very limiting, and very restrictive. And a lot of the astrologers who are giving you outlooks, from my opinion, but I think it's more than my opinion, are still based in the old timeline. So they're filtering everything through this lens of like difficulty, arduousness, struggle, darkness, trauma. And they know well and good that they can't tell somebody what's going to happen based on their zodiac sign, their sun sign only, for any extended period of anything. On the new timeline, we're the ones with the power. We get to choose. And also, we're seeing everything through a different lens, through the lens of the benefit, through the lens of the gift, through the lens of how the darkness actually strengthens us and helps us to grow. Which leads me to my next point. If you are seeing negative aspects in your chart, or you get a negative reading, ask yourself what it is that you're supposed to learn, because the negative is only negative as far as you have lessons to learn. And when you learn the lessons, you mitigate the negative response. You mitigate and can completely neutralize the negative outlook. When we look at a bad reading and we go, oh no, that's going to happen, well, that's what we create. When we look at a bad reading and we're like, well, wait, why are my finances going to be a little bit shaky? Maybe it's because I'm not in an alignment with my finances. I'm working in a job or a career that no longer is calling to me on a soul level. And if I step out of that and see the shakiness or the upcoming shakiness as a sign to learn something, and I look at what I can learn, I might be able to transform to the other side of that lesson and end up making a shit ton of money this month. You don't want to give your power away to the stars, but a lot of times you're not even giving your power away to the stars. You're giving your power away to some astrologer's interpretation of what the stars say for you. And if they're not reading your entire chart, you don't want to listen to that at all. Like at all. Unless it's positive, because then you might create the positive outlook. I'll give you an example of how everything is changing, and this is just based around perception. On the old timeline, Saturn was seen as a fucking asshole. I think Saturn kind of is a fucking asshole, but I don't know. He was seen as an asshole. He was seen as very limiting, very restrictive, very sort of dark, and could be very punishing. But again, that's the collective consensus of what Saturn was. Now on the new timeline, as the frequency of the planet raises, the frequency of the collective raises, we can see Saturn as a wise teacher who has many gifts to offer us. And the thing is, the reality is created based on a collective consensus. So when more of us begin to see Saturn that way, or anything that way, it becomes that way. It's kind of a mission to change our own personal vision and perception of what our reality is so that we can offer that to the collective. Sometimes it just starts with saying no. It's like the news. It's like, what would happen to the world if instead of like every horrible, awful scenario based in a terror and fear and control frequency, being beamed at us and taught to us, what if the news was all positive? What if they just came on every day and talked about people's breakthroughs, people's spiritual awakenings, how there was a difficult situation, but people, traversed it and made something good out of it? The whole planet would shift because we're the ones creating it. I don't know a whole lot about astrology, but I know that all of a sudden, I think it was in 1977 or something, Chiron was discovered. And then all of a sudden, Chiron has this influence on people's lives because we're all believing it. This goes down to like the quantum mechanic level. I've read a number of books, on quantum mechanics. And what they found is that everything behaves according to our observation, right? So protons, neutrons, electrons behave in the same way in any laboratory that they're experimented with on Earth. But there were something called, I think, anomatrons that were discovered much more recently. And they found that these particles behave differently depending upon what laboratory they were studied in, because they were so new. There wasn't enough of a collective perception of how these things were supposed to behave that they behaved this way in a consistent manner. It's the same with the stars. It's the same with your astrology. It's the same with everything. I guarantee you, if you went to an astrologer and they told you, you know what? Your birth chart is incorrect. You're actually this. You're actually a Libra. You're actually programmed for insane amounts of money that come to you easily and effortlessly. You have high amounts of vitality. You will manifest the partner of your dreams as soon as you start following your love and your purpose, which is this. Your whole life would change. You would start to become those signs. I guarantee you. If enough people started doing this, this is what would happen. And generalizing readings for your, birth chart are kind of irrelevant because it's up to your soul. It's the lessons your soul wants to learn from that. You can have 1,000 people born at the exact same moment in time on the exact same day, and they will all have completely different lifetimes. Why? Because your soul can sign up to be a Sagittarius for many different reasons. It can sign up to have a Libra rising sign for many different reasons. It can have a Leo North node for many different reasons. There may be similarities, but your lesson plan can be drastically different with the same parents, the same environment, the same everything. No two people are alike. So when you're reading these things, ignore the negative, except if it's very specific and there's somebody you trust, look at what the lesson is. And I would advise you this too. Do not listen to any astrologer that doesn't connect with your higher self or your soul before they give you a reading, because what they're reading from is their own freaking ego and their programming. They don't know what they're reading for you. You're listening to their own trauma being projected upon you, and then you're absorbing that and agreeing with it subconsciously, just because we tend to do that. When we get bad news, we're like, oh no, is it true? And then it becomes true because we're doubting it. An astrologer should connect with your soul, because this soul and the higher self will tell the astrologer what it is that you need to hear for your highest good. If they're not doing that, do not go to them. Do not listen to them. Unless you want to just be given information that you then front load your next year with and co-create a much worse year than you could have. So let me know if you have frustrations around this concept and if this has bothered you or irked you. Let me know if any of this helps. Let me know if you have any revelations or breakthroughs or comments. Please like and subscribe to the channel. I look forward very much to next time. Thank you so much, and peace.